Welcome to today's edition of the Software Spotlight. I'd like to welcome everybody. Today, as a guest, we have Sean Culties from Katana MRP joining us from here in the US. And Sean, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me, Michael. Appreciate being here.
Great. I was really hoping we could give our listeners a high-level overview of the Katana MRP solution and how it fits into manufacturing and other aspects of physical goods inventory.
Yeah, absolutely. So Katana is an inventory management and manufacturing solution. It really handles the operational side of most businesses. And where we have a lot of success are businesses that are selling online. So they're utilizing multiple e-commerce channels. They might have a B2B side of their business, and maybe they're doing some sort of like direct sale through like a point of sale operation. And so because these businesses have multiple sales channels, they need a way to bring all that demand into one solution to help them identify what they need to go and make, what they need to go and buy, so they can go and fulfill those orders. And then we take all that information and we can summarize that and send it over to QuickBooks Online or Xero so they can manage their financials. So essentially, Katana is utilizing a cloud technology stack to enable small to medium-sized businesses to scale and grow and offer competitive services, much like some of the enterprise solutions would be in the market. So it's sort of a tool that allows a business that is making things or selling things online to manage and have visibility around their inventory and manufacturing processes, understand their costs, and then fulfill those orders and roll that up into a financial solution.
Very nice. So it sounds like a unified solution that brings together a lot of technologies that could otherwise be challenging to do internally with a bunch of band-aids and trying to make things fit together that weren't exactly meant to fit together.
Yeah, exactly. I think historically, I've been in the space for about 15 years. And so when I came into the market, I actually worked for a manufacturer, and it was a company called Molding and Millwork. And so we had an on-premise ERP system that we utilized. And so with an on-premise system that you'd see in the market, they're usually trying to sort of do it all for that business, right? There isn't a lot of integrations. It's sort of a one solution that does everything for the company. And inevitably, what you find is it doesn't do everything all that well. And so people end up working in Excel or actually outside of the system itself. And the biggest challenge with that is actually technology adoption. So when a business is trying to take advantage of something like ChatGPT or OpenAI and roll that into how they might operate, if they're in an on-premise closed environment, it's difficult for them to adopt new technology. And that's where something like Katana, where we have an open API, we can connect with the newest technology that's available in the market and allow small businesses to be much more agile and adopt that new technology faster so that they can outcompete not only their smaller competitors, but even the larger companies that they now have really leveled the playing field with technology.
So it really sounds like it frees up time for these companies to get back to what they do best, which is probably marketing and selling and working with customers and keeping the demand high and really facilitating a lot of the back end that can really take up a lot of resources internally. And to me, from having gone through the solution and looked at it, the interface is elegant. It seems like there's a lot in there, but it's very well presented, and it does not feel like the type of solution where you would need to move in with the company to help them get up and running. It seems very streamlined.
It's a great point, Michael. Appreciate you sort of bringing that up. One of the key aspects I think that Katana provides as a competitive advantage is the ease of use of the system and the speed at which you can actually get it up and running. So our average implementation time is around 30 days. So our customers are up and running fully on the solution really quickly. And when you compare that to traditional ERP systems in the market, ones that I've sold and worked for, you're looking 6 months, a year plus to actually get,
Easy. I mean,
easily to
I've
get
been
these.
involved in several that weren't even that elegant. So I know, yeah.
Exactly. And the big thing is actually user adoption, right? So, there's this huge challenge in the market to attract and keep skilled labor on board, and especially sort of this younger generation coming into the workforce. And I think, these individuals have expectations when it comes to the technology that they're going to be working with. And so when you look at Katana, it really is a built into the cloud technology that represents or operates much like any technology you would use in your personal life. So whether it be like Instagram or, you know, just navigating through Amazon or something along those lines, Katana is going to operate very smoothly and intuitively, much like you would expect any sort of direct-to-consumer software. And so that's where I think our big advantage is for companies that are coming on board. They get their employees to adopt and start to use the system because it's actually, very straightforward. It's kind of fun to use, and then they start to see the benefits when they can kind of communicate what they're doing on the shop floor in real time, or see their inventory and know what they need to go and purchase quite easily, or identify exactly where their orders are coming from, be it Shopify or WooCommerce or some other e-commerce platform.
So it sounds like it's able to provide insight to some of the data.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really nice aspect of it, is because you're kind of consolidating these different channels that you're selling through. So maybe you're selling through, like I had said, like e-commerce, maybe a Shopify store, and then maybe you have like an Amazon product line, and then maybe you have a point of sale that you're selling through. It allows you to identify, hey, what are we selling through those different channels? What's most profitable? What's least profitable? What are we not moving? And you can see all that data in one spot because we're consolidating all that demand and all those sales orders into one location and allowing you to report on it and make educated business decisions, because we have this really accurate costing built into Katana as well. So we know, what it costs you to make or buy that finished product that you're selling, and then what did you sell it for, and what was your margin at the end of the day.
So let me ask you, is there a specific type of manufacturing business or type of retailer that Katana is best suited for in terms of size or industry, or what do you say?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So with the what we call like our ideal customer profile, if we're looking at sort of the size, typically they're going to be businesses under 50 million in annual revenue, and we do have customers that are quite a bit bigger than that. But for the most part, businesses that are under 50 million in annual revenue. And then a big aspect is usually the technology stack that the company's looking to utilize. So if they're using something like Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, or Amazon, and they have like QuickBooks Online or Xero, they typically are going to be a good fit for Katana. So they maybe manage inventory or have a product, and they're selling online or through multiple sales channels, and they are utilizing a cloud-based accounting solution, then Katana is likely going to be a good fit for that business.
Great. So it sounds like from an integration standpoint, you have a lot of options.
Yeah, the you know, focus for Katana is really to go to market as a platform. So not build what's already been built. We want to integrate with the best of breed technologies in the market so that we can utilize what customers are already using within their business and what they've optimized, and we can plug right into that so that they can, keep kind of rolling with the software that they're using, and then we can expand out the functionality of those solutions so they can kind of get the best of what Katana has to offer while maintaining what they already have in place.
And I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs on the podcast as well. Just kind of an aside, an interesting story. Can you share with us how Katana came to be? Where did the
Yeah,
idea
for
come from?
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the company actually was founded in Estonia, and so we've got three founders in Estonia that were starting or were working at a manufacturing company themselves. So Christian, who is the CEO of our company, he was also the CEO of this mid-sized manufacturing company. And he realized that the operational system at the company just wasn't going to allow them to continue to grow. And so he went to market and said, hey, like, there's got to be some software out here that's going to help us manage our inventory and help us, connect with the sales orders we're getting online. And when he went to market, he realized that the only solutions that were really available to him were enterprise level software solutions. So he was looking at like SAP and
sure.
Oracle and some of these really large, expensive packages. And he realized that there was a significant opportunity in the market. And one of his best friends was actually part of the Skype development team and part of that growth as Skype was actually founded in Estonia as well. And so we've utilized sort of that mindset in growing Skype and the knowledge and requirements around what we were looking for in a manufacturing solution and started to develop Katana. And the word katana is actually coming from sort of the Japanese definition around or mindset around minimizing waste and really being efficient, sort of from that Toyota mindset, related to Kaizen and lean manufacturing. And so that's what Katana is essentially representing, is a way to manufacture in a lean environment. And so that's the meaning behind the name of the company and how we sort of got started from an actual manufacturing company itself and trying to find a solution in the market.
Neat. Well, I'll tell you, the lean techniques pervade a lot of interesting different areas. Obviously starting in manufacturing, but throughout different organizations, and it's really kind of neat to hear that origin story. The other thing I was wondering, can you give us an idea, because I know a lot of our listeners are looking at different solutions and different options as far as MRP systems. Can you give us an idea of some of the key differences that set Katana apart from some of the other solutions that they may be looking at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the key ones would be the speed at which you can get the system up and running. So you can get Katana, you can start a free 14-day trial, and often some of our customers are up and running and live because we have these pre-built integrations into QuickBooks Online and Shopify. They can start pumping in their orders from Shopify, can connect that up to QuickBooks Online, and be up and running really quickly. So that's a big competitive advantage, is the fact that we can get them up and running really quickly. Another aspect is our support. So we do have 24/6 support, real people you can get on the phone, have a meeting with. We can set up, a Zoom call. And then we have an excellent partner network that can help with if you do want someone to come out to your facility and help implement the solution or help optimize your workflow. We've got an excellent partner community to help get that up and running. And then when we're looking at within the actual technology itself, the open API. So our API is very easy to work with. And so if you're looking to connect Katana to existing solutions or utilize that API to extend out your existing tech stack, that's something that Katana really beats out any of our competition within the market. And then finally, I would say it's the speed at which we're continuing to improve the solution. So Katana has some very aggressive roadmap targets as far as what we want to release and put out with the product. And so we're continuing to improve and listen to our customers as far as what is needed in the market to allow them to be more competitive. And we already have thousands of customers on the solution. We're doing like $1 billion in annual revenue through the software for our customers. So there's a significant amount of revenue flowing through the solution, and that provides us that feedback from our customers as far as what is the market looking for, and that's where we continue to grow and invest in the product. And that's where the majority of our workforce is focused right now, is on that engineering and product side of the business.
Great. Well, that really helps out, and clearly it's a very mature product, And I think, that's a key differentiator, the installed user base and the number of people just providing feedback and input and the constant tweaking and evolution of the product to get it to where it is now, and obviously the roadmap to implement some new features and capabilities. That's very exciting. Um, as far as trends in the MRP space, especially the segment of the market where you are in that $50 million plus or minus segment of the MRP market, can you give me an idea of what some of the biggest trends are that you're seeing at this point?
Yeah, for sure. So an interesting trend in the market that we're seeing with our customers is what we would call hybrid order fulfillment. So the traditional business model would have been something around focusing on maybe you do B2B. So you're manufacture your goods and you're gonna sell it to other businesses around you. Or you were maybe a distributor, so you were gonna buy in goods and you were gonna sell it through some sales channels. Or you were a storefront and you were gonna sell directly through customers that were walking in. And our customers today, 70% of them actually do a mix of all those different order fulfillment types. And that's really what technology has enabled them to do. As a brand, they now can not only produce and sell their own products, they can bring other products which they can buy, pull that into their brand, and utilize different sales channels to get that to the end consumer and market. And so one of the things that we're seeing certainly is that 70, I think it's like almost 75% of our customers are now utilizing a hybrid order fulfillment business model, which Katana supports very well. So they're manufacturing in-house, they're also buying product, reselling it, they're outsourced manufacturing, and then they're fulfilling it through multiple different sales channels. And that's something unique that we haven't seen in the market probably up until about 2 years ago, from the advent of COVID.
Sure, sure. And I think, the lines, between manufacturing, distributing, retailing are 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 blurring over the last few years. I mean, obviously, as the retail market space changes and, things continue to evolve, we're seeing, just like you're saying there with that trend, different types of models to get product to market. So that's interesting. As far as like trends around challenges that you're seeing manufacturers facing, are there certain new challenges that have kind of come to light as we're heading into 2024 that your solution helps manufacturers to overcome?
Yeah, certainly. So I think a big challenge with a lot of manufacturers is just visibility into their facility. So understanding what products are profitable, and understanding what resources or marketing strategies they should be focused on. And so it's really that data piece. It's having that contextualized data to make better business decisions is a really big challenge for a lot of business owners in that small to medium sized business area. They just don't have the visibility of their business and the data to make really strong decisions because they're in this desperate sort of separate systems where they have silos of information that aren't being pulled together to allow them to make really insightful decisions. And so when you look at Katana as this platform, we're not only pulling all this data together to enable more efficient operations and control over the business, but what we're also doing is providing much more impactful insight for that business owner to make better forecasting decisions, better marketing decisions, and better overall strategy of the company because they can focus on what's going to make them the most profit, understand what small bets that they've made are paying off and where they should invest more money. And so overall, it's just this challenge that small and medium-sized business owners are faced with is the information to make the best decisions, and Katana helps close that gap.
And another question, just putting myself in the spot of a manufacturer, is there maybe one or two features of Katana that are incredibly unique that the solution offers that really set it apart from some of the other alternatives out there that come to the top of your head?
Absolutely, for sure. So there's two probably big things that come up all the time. One is our scheduling system, and then the other would be our shop floor control application. And they really kind of go hand in hand. And I'll tell a quick story to explain why I think the scheduling system and why our customers feel it's so important. So when I worked at a
Sure.
manufacturer, they're molding and millwork. I ended up working my way up through the company and was in the sort of production planning department. And so the way we would plan each day is we'd print out all the manufacturing orders, and we'd have this what we call a big list of orders, and we'd stack them based on priority. So the highest priority jobs would go on top, and we called it the hopper. So the guys out on the shop floor would grab the most important paper from the top, and that's the job that they would go and run and do. Very manual process, but it worked, right? If we had a job and a customer called and we needed to make that the most important, we'd grab that, find that order, grab it, put it to the top. So it was a way we had a really good control over what our employees were working on the shop floor, albeit it was paper, it was slow. It had some benefits to it. With Katana, we've digitized that process. So you can drag and drop your sales orders, you can drag and drop your manufacturing orders, and that's going to not only reprioritize them on that screen, it's going to reprioritize the tasks that the employees see on their shop floor application, as well as the inventory that's being allocated to those jobs. So it really just ensures that your employees are working on the right jobs at the right time. And then that feedback loop from the shop floor. So getting into that shop floor control application where your employees can see the jobs that they need to work on by priority. Click on that job so we're allocating the time that it takes them to use that job. And then within that job, while they're tracking the time that it is taking to do that, we're collecting the cost associated to it. And they can look up drawing files, they can see any attachments related to it, as well as any other operations that job is going to go through. So they have all the information that they're going to need to run that job effectively right in the palm of their hand, which they can use their cell phone if they want.
And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, their jaw is dropping because they're saying, "Wow, I wish I were there now,"
Well,
compared
just
to
give
what
us a
they're
call. We'll
doing,
get you there. It only
right?
takes 30 days.
Right. So, and as far as like on the customer standpoint, if we were talking to one of your customers that's using the application, are there a couple of benefits that they see that they're saying to themselves, "Wow, this is the biggest thing that I love about Katana"?
Yeah, so there's a really interesting story. The company's name is like Motorsports or For Motorsports. The owner's Jeff. I can't remember the company name, but essentially he had sort of he was using Shopify, selling through Shopify. He had QuickBooks Online, and he had like a shipping solution. And he was working like 11-hour days because he had to gather those orders, figure out what inventory was going to fulfill them. He had, he was like a 20-person shop, so he was a decent sized company, but he was working crazy hours because he just had all this data and manual information that he had to go through to figure out what he needed to buy, what orders needed to be fulfilled, and sort of connecting all the dots between demand and fulfillment. And so he needed a system that really plugged directly into that workflow. And so he was able to save 4 hours a day of administrative time that he would have to have spent connecting those sales orders to what he was
Wow.
going to fulfill when he implemented Katana. And it was really nice because we fit right directly within that tech stack. So for Jeff, that was a huge win in his environment.
And I would have to think that the more data the system has, the more insight it can draw, and the smarter it gets. It's able to really learn along the way to be able to intuitively guide guide customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of our customers actually end up utilizing our API and work with like specialized reporting tools. So Easy Insights is, for example, is a really common reporting tool that can help with forecasting, that can help sort of extrapolate all this data and really put it into meaningful reports and things along those lines. So we certainly have some nice, robust reporting built directly within Katana and insights, but you can even further that reporting by utilizing something like Easy Insights or Power BI or Google Sheets even to really further that information.
Great. So really, really a lot of options in terms of reporting. The other question, as far as inventory management and production planning, can you speak to those couple of details with Katana? How it helps out with those two areas?
Yeah, for sure. So when you're thinking of like inventory management and production, one of the aspects that I think businesses really struggle with is real-time inventory, real-time visibility into what they need to purchase and what they need to produce. And a lot of that stems from the inherent delay from your sales order demand through to the actual production or inventory demand. So with Katana, we have this real-time nature of the entire system. So the moment a sales order is created in your Shopify store, that creates that sales order within Katana. And we're now going to create the demand on that finished good, or if that finished good is a manufactured product, it will also create the demand for that raw material. So if we think about that, now I can identify what I may need to purchase based on the immediate entry of an individual sales order. So that real-time nature allows you to have much better control and visibility of what you need to buy and what you need to make. Where historically, you wouldn't be able to create demand on a raw material until you actually created the manufacturing order in the system, which could actually be a day or two after you got that sales order in. And therefore, you haven't created the purchase order for the raw material 2 or 3 days later. So we're creating that demand in real time and allowing you to consolidate all that demand, all that purchasing requirements, and issue out your purchase orders much quicker. So it just allows you to run a much more lean inventory environment.
Neat, neat. Now, I know we spent a lot of time talking about the actual manufacturing process and the different ways in which it helps out there, but can you talk a little bit to financial reporting and how it helps out with costing and all of the financial end of things?
Yeah, absolutely. A big challenge with a lot of manufacturers is rolling out the true cost of goods sold related to goods that they produced and sold. And so with Katana, we integrate directly within QuickBooks Online at that cost of goods sold level. So when you go and ship out a product and you generate that invoice over in QuickBooks Online, which is you can create in one shot at the end of the day, or you can do it individually. That's going to make a journal entry over in QuickBooks Online. So it's going to increase your cost of goods sold and decrease your inventory relative to the actual cost associated to that. So now you're looking at your financials and you have really accurate numbers related to how much inventory value you have in stock, what is your cost of goods sold. And so it really just helps you ensure that your books are accurate from that perspective and understanding what values you have and making the appropriate journal entries for every transaction.
Makes sense. Well, I can hear people screaming, "We want to see the product already. Stop talking." So, can you show us a little demo of the product so we can get a feel for the interface and how it looks like in reality?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go
That would
ahead
be great.
and share my screen, and I'm gonna pick a window. There we go. All right. And is that coming through well for you?
Yeah, yeah, I can see
All
that.
right. Cool. So
Perfect.
you'll notice that I'm just logged in through a browser. So Katana is fully browser-based solution built in the cloud. You can see here we've got our chat bot along the bottom here. So if you do have any questions, you can see we've got some live agents ready to help you. Fred here, he's our favorite Frenchman. He's got a great accent and a really interesting personality. So definitely be fun if you got him on a chat. Where I've opened up the screen here is on the Insights tab. So this is where you can look at sales, manufacturing, and purchasing information. And we talked about that data and visibility. So in sales right now, we're just looking at the sales Insights screen, and we can look at our current month revenue, cost of goods sold, profit, or profit margin, see any trends that are happening there. We can filter that by a specific time period. In this case, we're looking at across the last 3 months. And we can see how that trend has occurred over the last 3 months. So, maybe we have a sale going on, or maybe we had a special, or, why did we see this dip in sales over a certain time period? And maybe our profit went down and our costs went up. What was the reason for that? And so if you wanted to drill into a specific area, the nice thing about this is I can highlight an area within this, look at a particular time over a few weeks, and we can see what products we actually sold over that time frame. What was the margin related to those products? And it really helps me make those better business decisions. We can see here, oh, maybe this television stand had a lower profit margin than we expected. We sold more units of that. So maybe we need to either look at trying to make the production process more profitable or increase our price. Or maybe we expected that and we're all good to go. But it does allow you to kind of drill into that information. And you can see this type of reporting across products, customers, purchasing on the vendor side. So you can really kind of get into that more detailed information.
So a
And then,
lot of insight.
yeah, exactly. And then if we, jump into the actual sort of operational side of the system and we take a look at our sales order screen, this screen, we're going to see orders populating into the system automatically from those e-commerce stores, or you're manually entering them into the system and creating a sales order, or maybe you're creating a quote and converting it into a sales order. But that's going to populate these orders here. And so right away, this is kind of a unique aspect of Katana, is the visibility that you're seeing within the system around what do you have available to fulfill orders. So for example, if we look at sales order number 6 here, I can see my delivery deadline was September 17th. I'm not going to make that delivery deadline because my expected completion date of the manufacturing order is actually the 25th. So right away, I know that I'm going to be in trouble for this. So maybe I can go and try and expedite that manufacturing order. But I do know at least I have the ingredients in stock. So that means that it's green, I have it available, and I can go and start producing that order. And
Now,
then I can see that. Go
does
ahead.
the system have the flexibility? Let's say you have kitted items, which may have a bunch of individual components to allocate, deallocate, move product from one kit to another, or one order to another, or is there some flexibility there?
Yeah, there is. So you can actually go ahead and, so say you wanted to reprioritize your jobs and for whatever reason make this job the highest priority job. The system will actually go in and reallocate inventory that is now a higher priority to this job. So, from that kitting perspective, take inventory that was allocated to one kit and apply it to another kit
So
now.
it's a heck of a lot more automated than what I was thinking about in the old days.
And you can see what makes it up too. If you go and click on this not started, I can actually drill into this specific manufacturing order and I can see what are those components that make up the finished good. What are we producing? What operations does it need to go through? So all that information is available related to that manufacturing order. So we can see in this case, we're manufacturing a coffee table, it's color cognac, which is a variant. So if you are selling on Shopify, often you'll have variants related to size, color, and these variants can get inputted directly into Katana and can identify then your bill of material that will be required. So it'll be associated to the price you charge, but also the cost that it takes you to produce that finished product. And so in this case, we can see we have some wood that's required, we have some cognac paint, and then we even have some operations through production. So we have cutting, gluing, assembly, and packaging are those different operations. And through those operations, we have planned time, and then we have actual time. So then we can start to compare our estimated costs versus our actual costs and see where there's some variance and where we maybe want to make some improvements. Maybe there's a specific operation that ends up taking more time than we expected. Or maybe there's a material, we used more material than we expected on this job. And that type of information would get rolled up into that total cost of goods sold and give you that financial visibility of profit and where you maybe can make some improvements.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're really freeing up people from doing more lower level or mundane tasks and freeing them up to be able to do some higher end uh, you know, things that'll propel the business forward versus being bogged down or weighted down in tasks that can be automated.
You got it exactly. And so when you look at, for example, that scheduling perspective, and you're trying to identify what my employees on the shop floor should be working on, you can go and, like I said, you can drag and drop orders. So if I wanted to move manufacturing order 4 up to here, it's going to move that. And it's going to reprioritize the tasks or the operations that are associated to that manufacturing order. So if I go ahead and jump over to the task list now, I can see all the different operations throughout my shop that need to be done, and I can assign those to individuals. So for example, on the table saw here, we've got all these different jobs that need to be done, and we can see I've assigned those all to Sean, and that's me. So if I'm using my cell phone or a tablet of some sort and I want to see what are the jobs I need to work on today, I would go over to my tablet or my cell phone, and I can see all these jobs that are prioritized for me to go ahead and work on. So very easily, I can go and hit start job. So we're now collecting time against that job. I can also go and click into this job and we can see the details related to it. So what are the materials that are required? What are the other operations that this job is going through? And if there's any drawing files or attachments, we can see those in the notes section as well. So really easy for the shop floor to understand what jobs they should be working on, have all the information they need. And then once they finish that, that's going to identify in real time on that manufacturing order that that task was completed and that next operation can get started.
So it sounds like everything kind of rolls up into getting the product into the final hands of the consumer faster and more
Yeah,
efficiently.
exactly. I think overall what we're trying to do is really just streamline that process of having the orders come in from the e-commerce channels. We're going to create the manufacturing orders or the pick lists to get them out to the shop floor so the employees know what they need to get together, produce it, and then get it off to the customer as quick as
And
possible.
I would think, raw good material inventory on hand days, would probably be positively impacted by this, and less inventory on hand and things moving in and out quicker and more efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cash flow these days is so important as a business
Sure.
owner. And so, one of the things that tie up most manufacturing businesses is the amount of inventory that they're keeping in stock. I mean, I've gone into shops that have millions of dollars tied up in inventory just because they don't know exactly what they need to go and buy. So they just buy as much as they can, but inevitably that straps them for cash. So
Right.
with Katana, we're really helping them manage their inventory more effectively, freeing up that cash flow so they can invest that into marketing and increase their sales. And then they have this nice throughput of demand through to fulfilling those orders and getting them out the door.
Now, I know you've talked obviously about how cloud technology is an important component to all of this. A couple of obviously hot topics in manufacturing would be AI and IoT, Internet of Things. Can you talk a little bit to either or both of those, as to how it integrates with the technology, or if it plays a role?
Yeah, so we have the open API. And so with that, on the shop floor, run time of those operations, you can utilize the API to populate that information as far as how long jobs actually took to run on an individual machine. So now you're getting into that, Internet of Things on the shop floor and tracking exactly, maybe you're using like machine metrics or something along those lines to track the amount of time that's spent on that individual work center and then updating that information directly into Katana. So you now no longer need your employee to actually hit this start button. We're using the machine start and stop time to actually indicate how long it's taken them to run that job. So that's an example of Internet of Things and sort of
Great.
utilizing that aspect of it. And then, when you think of, open AI and utilizing that, with our open API, it allows you to connect into that. So maybe you use that open API to somehow connect into Chat GPT to help look at your customer and your contact list and write an email saying what you've produced over the, or what you've bought over the last 6 months are these things, are any of these things that you'd like to order again. So you can utilize that chat GPT to look into your data and then produce an email and send that off to your customer. And that's available because we have this open API. So those are things that our customers can actually develop and utilize on their own. But internally in Katana, we're
Sure.
actually having an internal sort of project competition to take all of our employees at our company. So we've got 160 employees across the globe, and we're doing adopting AI competition. So how can we incorporate AI, this newer technology, into our solution and make make this technology available to our customers to take advantage of? So there's a couple different ways that we're probably going to come out of this sort of deep dive project that we're all getting into. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and I'll share with you from the bit that we've seen with AI from the this end at Software Oasis. It really seems like AI can draw insight from large data sets very easily, where it could be the same type of reporting or the same type of data that humans would take days, weeks, or months to analyze that AI can do in seconds and better and more efficiently. So that's really interesting. The other thing I was wondering, for customers that are looking to dip their toe in the water and find out a little more about Katana, obviously we're going to include a link in the show notes, but what does a typical onboarding process look like, and what is the support like during that onboarding process and afterwards?
Yeah, great question. So we do have a 14-day trial, so we invite you to, in the show notes, we can put a link in there where you can go and start that trial up. And when you do go ahead and start that trial, one of our sales reps will reach out, see if they can help you evaluate the solution. They'll try and understand your business a bit more, understand your workflows, and likely then work towards setting up a demonstration where we can actually walk you through how the software operates, what are some of the optimal workflows of the system based on your business model. And then from there, we do have sort of an onboarding team that is available to help support the client in getting up and running with the system, as well as we do have a partner network if they are looking for a more sort of hands-on implementation and they want a dedicated individual to really set up their data, understand their entire business workflow and all the technologies and integrate all that together. We have partners that can help support that and implement that.
Great. And the customers that are the most successful with adopting the technology, are there some tips that you might have, the things that lead to successful implementations?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One is having a dedicated resource. So often where these implementations fall down is no one really takes control of the project itself. And so that's where if you don't feel like you're going to have a dedicated resource that will have the time, but you know you need the solution, the option then is bringing on sort of an approved implementation partner that Katana works with, because they'll be that resource for you to get it up and running and make sure there's a solid adoption across the company. If you do have that resource, internally that is going to be focused on getting the system up and running and sort of maybe managing some of the change that employees might have to go through, because if they're going from, writing on a piece of paper to then utilizing some sort of device, there's just an adoption aspect there that someone likely will need to be there to help them through that. So if you have that dedicated resource in-house, great. If you don't, no problem. You just have to, find a consulting firm that can support you with that, and we've got those contacts available.
And is it important to have people from different departments providing feedback as things are getting up and running and getting insight from the different areas of the company?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the size of the company, right? If you're a smaller business, usually the owner has a pretty good idea of what's
Sure.
going on in the business, and they're usually the one that's going to drive the project because they understand the long-term benefit and the overall, and they're sort of coaching the teams that they work with through that. But then if if they're a little bit of a larger company, that's where you do have that designated resource, and then they're going to be working with each individual department to ensure that their workflows are optimized through the solution, and everyone understands exactly how their department's going to use the new tool that they're implementing.
Neat. Okay. And obviously, we're coming up to the holidays. Here we are, Q4. And I know that it's a busy time of year for manufacturers and retailers and the whole supply chain. Can you talk a little bit about how Katana helps out companies manage inventory and increase production needs as we approach the holidays?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, the big bump actually comes in Black Friday. So that is where the majority of purchases are made. So manufacturers are all planning for that are specifically selling online. Suppliers are all planning for this Black Friday sort of um, spike in sales, and it's significant. So there will be like 30% of transactions will happen over like a 2 week period for some of these businesses. Some are like 50%, depending on the type of industry that they're in. So they really need to plan ahead and look at what they sold last year, what are they promoting this year, and then ensure that they have the right products in stock, and then can fulfill those orders relatively quickly to make sure they have happy customers. And so that's where Katana kind of pulls that all together, right? Helps you forecast out, make sure you have the right inventory, look at last year's sales, understand, what did you do, what inventory did you consume, and then help you plan for, what you want to do coming up to that time period as far as what you want to have in house and in stock, and how you're going to fulfill those orders. And so the overall sort of supply chain order fulfillment is something Katana helps manage, give you visibility around, and plan to ensure that you do have success and can take advantage of that huge increase in sales that can come in.
Sure, sure. And obviously, shop floor visibility is very important when ramping up production for the holidays. How does the shop floor app help manufacturers to kind of track and progress and spot different bottlenecks as they come along?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to communication. So most businesses, if they need to go and talk to someone on the shop floor, they got to go out and say, "Hey, you're not supposed to be working on this job now. This one's more important." And that's you got to find that guy. Some of these shops are big, and that can be a big headache. And so with Katana, you have that drag and drop functionality, prioritizing orders. You can communicate right in the notes section, and that's going to hit that shop floor employee up right on his device. And so that shop floor control app, again, it really just helps them make sure that they're working on the highest priority jobs, and then we're gathering that information as far as how much time did it take, what materials did they consume, so that you understand the actual cost that it took to produce those goods, and that you're selling your products at a profit.
Got it, got it. Now, for companies that are looking to get up and running with the solution, obviously, we don't have to talk specific numbers because I know things change, but how is the product priced? Is it based on a user or is it based on an implementation? Or can you talk a little bit about the pricing structure?
Yeah, for sure. So it's going to be based on basically the function that the company requires. So, do they need barcode scanning? Do they need serialization or batch tracking? And then there's three separate levels based on sort of what they're looking. And we do have a pricing page on our website that we can link to in the show notes, but
Sure,
price,
sure.
prices range anywhere from, $1,000 a month down to $99 a month. So, there's some entry level solutions that companies can get up and running if they're just looking for some basic inventory management and pulling in orders from, Shopify and some different e-commerce channels, um, connecting up to QuickBooks Online. Then you can look at our essential package. If you're looking to get into batch tracking, serialization, pick and pack, and that type of sort of functionality set, you're looking at our advanced solution. And then if you're looking at more robust feature set, your really high order volume, you're looking towards our professional level product.
Sounds like at any or all of those levels, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the efficiencies and cost savings that the solution can provide. So that's great to hear. Are there any other big details that we didn't highlight in our conversation today that you wanted to make sure that our listeners are aware of with the solution?
Uh, Nothing in particular, Michael. We've got a really friendly team. Would love to have a conversation, help, determine if Katana could be a good fit. So if you're at all interested, you can either book a call with one of my team members, or you can start a free trial of the system, take it for a good test drive and see if it's something that you think could help improve the efficiency and operations of your business. So it's really easy to try. There's no cost in doing that. And you might get a good conversation out of it.
Fantastic. Well, Sean, I really appreciate your being with us on the podcast today. With us, we've had Sean from Katana MRP. And coming up on our next podcast, we're going to have Kataya Hill from Assembly. And they actually produce a really exciting internet type product for companies of all sizes. And their slogan is turn your team into know-it-all champions and enable them to find, share, and communicate and engage with an internal intranet. So we'll take a look at that on our next episode. And they've gamified the whole concept of an intranet. So some interesting technology there. So once again, Sean, thank you for joining us on the podcast today, and we appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Have a great
All
day.
right, thank you.